Thank you. Thanks to give the opportunity to Chronolife to explain how we combine artificial intelligence technologies and new generation of medical devices under the form of new generation wearables to deliver what we call RPM, remote patient monitoring services and predictive services. So let us start, if you don't mind, with the main global challenge experienced in healthcare. There are today three major challenges experienced by healthcare, both mainly in Europe and in the United States. First of all, the increasing number of patients with chronic disease now exceed 300 million people, both in North America and the EU, that have at least one chronic disease. And this number continues to increase, and it absorbs 80% of the healthcare expenditures in both regions. Simultaneously, the number of beds available in the hospitals have the tendency to reduce. For instance, to take the case of the example of France, the number of beds available in the hospitals have decreased by 15%, whereas the population has increased by 10% over the last 10 years. So an important need, as the two curves go in the opposite direction, so an important need to reduce the readmissions in the hospitals or to reduce the hospital stay. And as you can imagine, the COVID-19 crisis has really increased and worsened this situation, with 30 to 35% of the patients discharged from the hospitals of COVID plus patients discharged from the hospitals that suffer from respiratory and or cardiovascular disease requiring long-term follow-on and surveillance. And on top of that, the big pharma also experience one global challenge. They are really put under pressure to demonstrate the efficiency of their new therapies, of their new drugs, of their new molecules. So these guys also need to collect remotely physiological data in real life conditions in order to prove the efficiency of their new drugs or existing drugs. So all that to say that the need for remote patient monitoring is rapidly increasing. Over the last 6 months, it's even more important, and the same for predictive service. And what we call predictive service is really to give the tools to the healthcare professional for decision, for rapid diagnostic, to make sure that only the patients that do need care come back to the hospital. But if we want remote patient monitoring service to be a success, to be efficient, you need, in fact, three things. You need, first of all, easy to use and comfortable medical device to improve the adherence and the quality of life of the patient. You also need continuous multiparametric physiological and medical data, possibly in real life conditions for a better diagnostic. And as a lot of data are generated, you also need a third thing, which is an algorithm, an artificial intelligence-based algorithm, which is able to compute in real time, in quasi-real time, all the data generated by the medical device to provide the required tools to the healthcare professional for diagnostics. That's really the mission of our organization and some of us these days, to combine this new generation of medical device under the form of wearables together with artificial intelligence-based algorithm in order to deliver predictive service and the right tool to the GPs to make sure that only the patients that do need care come back to the hospital. Just here to give you the example of what Chronolife has in terms of assets and competitive advantage to reach the objective I just described. We have a patented algorithm named hors, which is able, in fact, on low-power chipset or calculator to make the fusion of multiparametric data, and doing this continuous fusion of the data is able to detect the change of health of a patient and generate clinical events. The The second asset that we have is a comfortable and washable t-shirt, which is today a medical device, class 2A certified medical device that continuously generate medical data and transfer it on an infrastructure that we operate and maintain by our own in order to provide access to this data to the healthcare professional. In order to, you have here on these slides the infrastructure that we have today. So this medical device, the connected and washable t-shirt, generate today 6 parameters and medical data: an electrocardiogram, an ECG, single lead. It also monitors the pulmonary impedance, the respiration, the temperature of the skin, and the physical activity. And all these data are generated continuously. It goes on the Bluetooth interface inside the t-shirt, transmitted to the application on the smartphone. And the application on the smartphone has the host or artificial intelligence-based algorithm integrated in the application and is computing, analyzing the data permanently in order to generate clinical events. In fact, what the application and what the algorithm is doing by computing and doing the fusion, the permanent and continuous fusion of the data generated by the t-shirt, it creates a shape, it creates a figure that represent at one moment the patient health states. And as you can imagine, if this figure change and take the characteristics, form or forma or shape of a specific disease or chronic disease, then an alarm is generated and sent either to the telemedicine service platforms or directly to the GP and to the healthcare professionals to decide either to change the treatment immediately or ask the patient to come back to the hospital. In order to demonstrate the performance of this combined solution, of this artificial intelligence-based algorithm combined with our connected and washable t-shirt, we have decided to launch a clinical trial in Europe. In order to set up and to define this clinical trial in Europe, to obtain the certification for predictive service based on artificial intelligence technologies, we have set up a scientific committee, a steering committee in Europe with several cardiologists. With them, we have developed a clinical trial protocol and synopsis, and we have recently launched a clinical trial in Europe, in 6 European countries, with 25 hospital sites and with 550 patients. The objective being to demonstrate that when you combine a multi-parametric medical data under the form of a wearable, namely our connected and washable t-shirts, together with our algorithm that reside in the application of the smartphone, doing the computation in real time of all these data, then we can predict a decompensation, a worsening heart failure situation before it happens. So this clinical trial has recently been launched. We will have the results of this clinical trial by end of next year. The patient pathway is the following one. That's patients that are discharged from hospitals with after a decompensation, after a serious worsening heart failure situation, that are equipped with the t-shirt and are monitored 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So of course we provide several t-shirts for that. We provide 3 t-shirts per patient, and they are remotely monitored continuously. The objective being to be in a position to detect a worsening heart failure situation or a decompensation before it happens. This being said, we will have the results of this clinical trial only end of next year, but as you can appreciate and already see, the main actual and potential benefits of artificial intelligence-based technologies apply to healthcare and digital health in general, and to remote patient monitoring activities and applications are indicated on this last slide, which are to be in a position to compute and analyze a lot of continuous, a lot of data generated continuously in quasi real time. So that means provide more accurate information for diagnostics and for decision by the healthcare providers. So provide the capabilities to the GP to change the treatment in due time, Make sure also, as I was saying before, that only the patients that do need care comes back to the hospital. And with the COVID-19 crisis, that's really a must-have. And as a consequence, improve the patient's quality of life and outcomes, which is one of our main focus at Chronolife in our organization with this combined technologies. As you can imagine, the patient do prefer to remain at home instead of permanently, weekly, or every day go back to the hospital for additional or new treatments. Thank you.